Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Friday, October 20, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Mikey Dennis Oliveira.
And I'm Deivid Lira. We are here to bring you the top stories we gather from all over the globe.
In the latest episode of Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa, former President Rodrigo Duterte says cultural hate is what caused the conflict between Israel and Palestine, as he calls for a ceasefire between the IDF and Hamas.
Angry protests erupts in Jordan following the hospital blast in Gaza, for which both Israel and Hamas are blaming each other as to who attacked the medical institution.
President Bongbong Marcos urged the regional members of GCC and ASEAN for peace in South China Sea and Arabian Sea.
Meanwhile, Egypt's president has finally allowed to limit aid to Gaza Strip by reopening a key crossing.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin said Ukraine should drop its theatrics if it wants peace talks.
These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World.
First in the news, the Russian President Vladimir Putin accepted the invitation from the leaders of Thailand and Vietnam to visit their respective countries. Anissa de Guzma has the report.
Thailand's Prime Minister Shweta Thavisin invited his Russian counterpart to visit the country for an official visit next year. Shweta made the invitation during the sidelines of China's Belt and Road Initiative Forum. The Thai government confirmed that Putin accepted the invitation, but a date has yet to be set. At the same time, the Russian leader also accepted President Vo Van Thong's invitation to visit Vietnam soon. Both Thailand and Vietnam are not a state party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, or ICC, and opted to maintain cooperation with Russia. To note, the ICC in March issued an arrest warrant for Putin over the alleged illegal deportation of children from Ukraine. Last year, Thailand joined China in India in abstaining from a UN General Assembly vote to condemn a referendum that saw 4 Ukrainian provinces give an overwhelming vote to be part of the Russian Federation. More than 1 million Russians have visited Thailand since the beginning of 2023. The government also extended the visa-free stay for Russians from previous 30 days to 90 days, set to take effect from November 1, 2023 to April 30, 2024. Dijan Anissa de Guzman Ranganchak Kuntep Mahanakon, SMN News, Pratethay, Sawadika.
Former President Duterte revealed his impression of Russian President Vladimir Putin in the latest episode of Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa. Let's find out more with Hannah Jane Sanchez.
A quite humble man in person. This is how former President Rodrigo Duterte described Russian President Vladimir Putin in the recent episode of Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa with Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy on SMNI. The former president made the comment when Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy pointed out that Putin has many Asian countries allies despite being bedeviled by Western media.
See, President Putin was invited to China, he went there. Now he is invited again to Thailand and Vietnam and is also going there. In spite of the fact na meron siyang warrant of arrest na ICC. In spite of the fact that he is being bedeviled by the Western media, but marami pa rin siyang friends sa Asia, no?
Western media claims that the start of the conflict has thrown the Russian president into isolation, which has expanded after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against him, although Russia is not a member of the foreign court and does not recognize its authority. Putin recently made 2 foreign visits. The first was in Kyrgyzstan to meet President Sadir Japarov, and the second was in China to join the Third Belt and Road Forum and talk with Chinese President Xi Jinping, whom Putin calls his dear friend. And recently, Putin accepted invitations from Thailand and Vietnam. It can be noted that Thailand, a country not a state party to the ICC Rome Statute, opted to maintain its ties with Russia. On the other hand, Vietnam has had a strong relationship with Russia since the Soviet Union era. Meanwhile, former President Rodrigo Duterte, who agreed with Pastor Apollo Siquibuloy's remarks, revealed his impression of Putin, saying the Russian president is quite humble and not arrogant.
To the Western press, talaga demonyo si Putin. Pero pag nakaibigan mo si Putin, he's just an ordinary, well, of course, a politician, because that position is political. You cannot be there without politics. Maano siya, maano rin, he's quite humble and sa person. Wala man akong makitang mayabang na dito naman sa Pilipinas. Marami dyan sa Congress.
It can be remembered that during his presidency, former President Duterte sought closer relations between the Philippines and Russia as part of his friends to all, enemies to none foreign policy. In 2017, Duterte thanked Putin for helping turn the tide in the Marawi siege by donating vehicles, assault weapons, and ammunition. In 2019, Duterte made a second trip to Russia after the first one was cut short by the fall of Marawi. In January of this year, the former president said he considers Putin a friend but disagrees with his move to launch a military operation in Ukraine, raising concerns about global instability. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Angry protests erupt near the Israeli embassy in Amman, Jordan, to oppose the deadly missile attack on a hospital in the Gaza Strip. Tuesday's missile attack on the said Gaza hospital caused anger and outrage in the Arab world, although Hamas and Israel are still accusing each other as to who really attacked the said hospital. According to CCTV, angry protesters have erupted in support of Palestine and blaming the military of Israel. It can be remembered that the blast at the Al-Ali Arab Baptist Hospital killed at least 471 Palestinians, as said by the Gaza Health Ministry. Meanwhile, Jordan had called off a planned four-way summit, which was supposed to bring together King Abdullah II, U.S. President Joe Biden, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, and Egyptian President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi. The protesters said that they are happy that Biden would no longer visit Jordan. However, they're still angry as the conflict continues to escalate.
مسلمة بغلي يعني هاي أقل ما يمكن أعمله يعني إلغاء القمة مشرف للأردن كان شيء بيرفع الراس ولكن بدي كمان أكثر من هيك بدي لا اتفاقيات سلام نوقف التطبيع مع اليهود إحنا إذا غزة استسلمت يعني ما في لا قضية عربية ولا مسلمين أبدا بالعكس أنا بدي إياهم يفهموا هاي القضية لازم تضل بكل الأجيال ما بتنتهي.
The president of Egypt finally agreed to open the Rafah borders crossing to allow the passenger of limited aid into the Gaza Strip. Grateru Omori reports.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has authorized the entry of desperately needed aid inside the war-torn Palestinian enclave following days of pressure from the international community. About 20 trucks carrying water, food, medicines, and other supplies will be allowed to enter Gaza. There are expectations the Rafah border crossing will reopen on Friday, but Israel, Egypt, and the White House said the critical aid could start entering Gaza in the next few days. At present, more than 200 trucks and some 3,000 tons of aid are positioned near the Rafah Crossing, which serves as Gaza's only connection to Egypt. Egypt has sent machinery to repair the roads across the border destroyed by Israeli airstrikes. Some of the aid is stockpiled in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, while more aid is currently stationed in the Egyptian city of Al Arish, about 45 kilometers from Rafah. The delivery of limited humanitarian aid to Gaza will take place after U.S. President Joe Biden held talks with the Egyptian president during his whirlwind visit to Israel. The Israeli government, however, warned the aid would end once Hamas confiscated the supplies. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for a ceasefire and for the war to be ended as soon as possible during his meeting with Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Mabduli on Thursday. Egypt agreed to open the border after the bombing of a crowded hospital in Gaza that killed hundreds of people created a widespread fury across the Middle East.
Reporting from Dubai, this has been Gratero Omori, SMNI News, United Arab Emirates.
The Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has a message for the winners of the barangay and SK elections. Find out more on MJ Mondahar's report.
The last barangay and SK elections in the Philippines took place on May 14, 2018. After 5 years, the public will once again elect officials for their barangays or neighborhoods. The Department of Interior and Local Government has a message for the winners in these elections. Focus on the use of illegal drugs, particularly by strengthening the Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Councils.
Una ho, yung drugs. Lalo-lalo na sa Metro Manila, dapat po palakasin ang BADAC.
Among the responsibilities of BADAC is identifying areas in the barangay where illegal drugs are prevalent. This includes ensuring that barangay tanods or local watchmen and BADAC auxiliary teams are ready to respond to operations. The DILG also emphasizes the importance of close coordination between barangay and government agencies dedicated to addressing the illegal drug issue.
Kasi pag iyan po ay na-organize natin ng maganda yung samahan ng barangay, pulisya at PDEA, laban sa droga, doon po magiging effective ang kampanya.
The DILG also mandates the strengthening of intelligence gathering in the barangay as part of the whole-of-nation approach to the campaign.
Sabi ko nga, palakasin natin yung barangay information network natin. Mag-organize tayo noong talagang matuturuan ng PDEA at ng pulis kung paano ba yung pag-gather ng information sa kanilang mga barangay. Kailangan po kasi medyo talagang accurate ang magiging report para yun ang magiging basihan kung ang isang kababayan mo nasa barangay ay suspect sa pagiging puser, user, o drug lord.
The current administration follows a bloodless anti-drug war. In fact, the government has seized no less than 4.4 tons of illegal drugs, equivalent to 30 billion pesos in value. With that, the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, or VACC, hopes that the government will take a strong stance against illegal drug syndicates.
Ang tingin namin, hindi kamukha dati talaga eh. Yung may fear, may takot. Ngayon, makita natin, they were again able to reclaim the streets of the nation sa illegal drug distribution.
For Ganabable of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
China says Japan's discharge of treated radioactive wastewater to the Pacific Ocean should be under international monitoring. Ria Saito tells us more.
The international community demands for an international monitoring arrangement for Japan's nuclear contaminated water release plan that has lasted for almost 2 months. This was said by Mao Ning, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China in Beijing, in response to a question on Chinese experts' participation in the International Atomic Energy Agency investigations of Japan's plan.
中方反对日本福岛核污染水排海的立场是一贯和明确的。日本启动核污染水排海已经有2个月，国际社会要求尽快建立一个长期有效的国际监测安排，并且确保日本的周边邻国等利益攸关方的切实参与。我们认为国际原子能机构应当为此发挥应有的建设性作用，承担起对日方严格监督的责任。日方也应当全面配合，严防核污染水排海带来不可挽回的危害。
It can be remembered that the initial discharge of the treated radioactive wastewater started on August 25th, and the whole of its release will go on for at least 3 decades. The operator of the nuclear power plant, Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, plans to discharge more than 31,000 tons of diluted toxic water in 4 rounds by the end of March 2024. TEPCO said water samples collected from the ocean to date were found to be within safety limits. However, people worldwide have doubted it and believe the safety of the said water was exaggerated. Ijon, yung karasaytariya news at Stashmashta, SMNI News, Japan.
The House of Representatives is willing to open its book to the Commission on Audit to assess how public funds are being utilized, responding to a challenge posed by former President Rodrigo Duterte. Jay Mudahar is back for more news.
former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has challenged the House of Representatives to open its financial records to the Commission on Audit. This move aims to scrutinize how public funds passing through the lower house are being used. The former president emphasized his point.
Hindi ino-audit ang Congress. You have never heard of a red flag hoisted in the premises or in the territory of Congress. Not once, not twice, not at all.
In an interview with SMNI, the House leadership responded to the former president's call.
Well, ang House of Representatives po ay handa na magpa-audit, and as always, sinabi ko na rin po ito a few days ago na yung House of Representatives is not exempt from any audit procedure being done by COA.
In fact, according to the LIPE, he obtained the latest COA certification this month, which stated that there were no lapses in the House's fund utilization.
Nung binasa ko yung statement, third quarter statement report ng COA regarding the House of Representatives, wala pong suspension, walang disallowance, or wala pong notice of charge. So malinis po yung report ng House.
Meanwhile, the House also responded to Foreign Relations expert Sas Rogando Sasot's question about the issue of extraordinary funds. Sasot claimed that only certification is needed and there is no requirement for receipts and rigorous auditing to use these funds. The House is around 1.6 billion pesos in extraordinary expenses in the 2023 national budget, which is used during emergencies.
So, pinasisinungalingan niyo po yung naging post na ito na ganito yung proseso dyan po sa Kongreso ni Sas po, Congressman?
Actually, basta baka ma-misquote na naman ako. Basta yung sa amin, kung ano ang require ng Commission on Audit, ano yung mga reports na kailangan, anong liquidation kailangan, kung ano ang requirement for audit procedures, we comply by it.
Pera natin yan eh. Money is money. It's not your money, not my money, the people's money. So the people is entitled to know saan nagpunta ang pera. Siya may-ari.
For Ganamabul of Philippines, I'm Jay Wandihar, SMNI News.
A volunteer in Israel said the devastation along the Gaza region looked just like a scene from a horror movie, and that the level of violence was created he has witnessed so far in his career. Tricia Molina reports.
Josh Wonder, the international spokesperson for Zaka Search and Rescue Organization, is no stranger when it comes to seeing dead bodies and people dying from unnatural causes. In the first place, he is part of a non-profit group that operates worldwide by helping recover the dead following terror attacks and other disasters. Wonder worked as a volunteer for Zaka for about a decade now, but even with this level of expertise, he admitted without hesitation that the deadly aftermath of the conflict between the Israeli forces and Hamas still left him horrified. In an exclusive interview with SMNI, he shared details of the devastating scenes he and his team had witnessed as volunteers from the organization were immediately mobilized nationwide right after the deadly attack launched by Hamas.
Quite a shocking scene, even before we got to the actual towns that were affected. Once we started going into the different areas, the shock and horror just got worse and worse. I described it as a scene from a horror movie, seeing the mutilation and the slaughter of men, women, children, all different nationalities. We found many Thai workers that were working in the fields and outside of one of the neighborhoods that were all murdered. It was evil like we've never seen before.
Wonder described the level of violence as the greatest their team has encountered, which left even the most hardened and seasoned volunteers shocked.
The scale of this is by far the greatest we have ever encountered. And we have seen a lot. Even the most hardened and seasoned volunteers that have been through many, many different events are shocked and horrified by what we found. And it's difficult both physically, psychologically for all of us to see this.
The Israeli volunteer advised the public not to accept everything they read on social media and to stick to official sources. Wonder believes Israel will be able to rise again, given that the country has encountered a lot of tragedies known to history.
Like I said, we're a strong nation that has had a very long history of tragedies. We've gone through inquisitions, we've gone through crusades, and we've gone through pogroms, Holocaust. And we're like the phoenix, we always rise up again. And we have no doubt that our resolve is stronger than ever now to stop what has happened and to make sure that it never repeats itself in the future.
The Israeli volunteer warned of his country's determination to stop the evil that started the ongoing chaos.
Just that, like I said, the Jewish nation is a strong one. Our resolve is very strong. We're united. And we will rid this evil from the face of the earth. We will make sure that this does not repeat itself. And we hope that all the nations, including our friends in the Philippines, will support us in our mission.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
During the summit, President Bongbong Marcos urged the members of the ASEAN and GCC to promote peace and stability in South China Sea and the Arabian Sea. The details with Natalia Prado live. Natalia.
Good evening, Mike. During his intervention, President Marcos underscored the importance of cooperation between the ASEAN and the GCC to ensure continued prosperity. The 6 member countries of the GCC are Brunei, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, while the 10 member countries of ASEAN are Brunei, Burma, Vietnam, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. President Marcos attended the ASEAN GCC Summit, where he discussed business opportunities in the Philippines. PBBM also urged the investors to invest in the Maharlika Investments Fund, or MIF, among other significant developments in the Philippines. The chief executive also expressed his deep concern over the increasing number of victims of the conflict in Israel and Gaza, as well as the safety of all those affected by the conflict. Mike, PBBM is hoping that all parties will do their best to reduce tension, stop all violence, and engage in a dialogue and diplomacy. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much. That's Natalia Prado live on SMNI Studios.
The ongoing conflict between Palestinian militants such as Hamas and the nation of Israel is not a recent phenomenon, but rather a deeply rooted historical issue. This was emphasized by the former President Rodrigo Duterte in his program, Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa, where he clarified the root cause of this conflict. It was we commonly refer to as a cultural hate. Val Divinagracia filed this report.
Fueled by anger and animosity due to differing beliefs. That is what former President Rodrigo Duterte sees as the reason behind the current conflict between the Palestinian militant group Hamas, which includes Palestinian Arab Muslims, and the nation of Israel. In that program, Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa on SMNI, together with Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, former President Rodrigo Duterte made it clear that the ongoing conflict between Palestinian Arabs, who are predominantly Arab Muslim, and Jews, can be traced back to ancient times as documented in the Bible.
They differ in the wisdom and even in the soundness, sanity, or goodness of that God, because of their cultural hate. I don't know how you would compute that in your mind. So yan ang problema ngayon. Kasi dito, it's not really a question of God, but it is a matter of how hate each other, including the Roman Catholics. Kasali tayo dyan, Pastor, in the Middle Ages, at the height of the Middle Ages.
The former president believes that over time, this conflict may persist and continue in the next generation.
The Jews are out for blood. Ang nag-umpisa nito ngayon, it's a generational thing. Hindi lang ito sa ating generation na ito. We did not start it, and I do not think it will end with us. And mind you, it could invite the great powers to enter into the picture. Kasi pumasok ang Diyos, gumanti, papuntang Iran. Kasi yung Hamas, yung terrorist activity nung gumawa ng kalukuhan, nung nagpatay doon sa loob, kumuha, dinukot yung mga Gazans, pati yung mga Pilipinos. Inahabol ngayon ng mga Jewish state.
That's why the former president's call to Filipino Christians and Muslims is to understand each other and that what is right and good for the nation should prevail.
Kaya tayo dito at all cost, marami tayong ditong Christians, marami tayong kapatid na Muslim. So sabihin ko sa mga kapatid na Muslim, wala tayong away. Kung sino lang ang tama. Kung Jew ka, tama ka, nandun ako sa iyo. Muslim ka, tama ka, nandyan ako sa iyo. You know, it does not take any religion. No religion in this planet has a monopoly to just even give the slightest idea of what is right and what is wrong. What do I protect? I protect humanity.
And when asked about his stance on the call of House Deputy Minority Leader and Basilan Representative Mujib Hataman for the Marcos administration to join the countries calling for a ceasefire between Israel and the militant Hamas, here's the former president's response.
Whatever that will promote peace, yes, even in the shortest time, it cannot be a permanent one. But for as long as we have a respite in the violence, against violence and injuries, payag ako doon.
Yes.
I can sign any agreement that to do. In the meantime, for the nonce, ika nga, for the nonce, that's it. But in the meantime, that would give us a respite to what ails in this world today. That's the duty of government. To remain neutral, neither pro or against the Christians or Islam, but to be on the right side.
Recently, the Israeli military launched airstrikes in the Gaza Strip and targeted some residential buildings in Tel Al-Hawa. It was also reported that the Al-Qassam Brigades, the military wing of Hamas, launched rockets towards Tel Aviv in Israel. These attacks were confirmed by Israeli media, and the Iron Dome defense system was used to intercept the incoming rockets in Tel Aviv. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Valdivina Gracia, ASEAN News.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte showed his paternal side by discussing the issue of making the Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC mandatory. The details with MJ Modahar.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte gave practical life advice to the youth, urging them to support the government in its endeavor to make the ROTC mandatory. The former chief executive told the youth that although they do not see the importance of the ROTC, they will soon realize it in the future.
Mga anak, makinig kayo. Gobyerno, we have to support your government. And one of those things are to go into an exercise which you hate. Kasi gigising ka lang ng umaga. When the time comes, when you become a father and mother, o nakagera ngayon, magkakandara pa kayo, sinong tawagan ninyo saan kayo pupunta, then you will realize na itong mga ROTC dumaan na will be there for you. Yan ang hindi ninyo alam. Can never tell life. It's not all fun and glory. It is there.
It can be remembered that the ROTC is no longer mandatory in the Philippines, but many groups and legislators are pushing to make it mandatory again amid geopolitical turmoil, including the Israel-Palestine conflict and the worsening tensions between China and Taiwan. For Ganamabal of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
For peace talks to resume, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Ukraine must first remove its theatrics and legal obstacles. The details with Andrea Santos.
Russian President Vladimir Putin believes that the Western rhetoric on the conflict appears to be shifting in the right direction. However, Ukraine must first end its theatrics and remove legal obstacles before peace talks between both sides can resume. Putin made the statement at a recent press conference in China. According to the Russian president, Ukraine must abolish a law that has declared peace talks impossible as long as Putin remains in power.
На вопрос о том, возможно ли перспектива какого-то мирного урегулирования, сказал то, что говорил многократно. Если украинская сторона хочет реально переговорного процесса, то нужно делать это не какими-то театральными жестами, а нужно первое, что сделать, отменить декрет президента Украины, запрещающий вести переговоры.
It can be noted that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed the measure last year, and his foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba claimed that the world will never see Putin and Zelensky sitting at the same table. Meanwhile, Putin claimed that Ukraine has little to show its foreign backers despite months of combat, and that some Western officials are deviating from their declared goal of defeating Russia on the battlefield. And while Putin commends such transformation, saying that it leads in the right direction, however, for him, it is not enough. Putin then named European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell as an example of a Western leader shifting his stance. It can be remembered that Borrell visited China last week and met with Foreign Minister Wang Yi. During the talks, Borrell told Wang Yi that Germany counts on China to support the Ukraine peace negotiations. This has been Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
Israeli security officials signaled their readiness for a ground offensive into the Gaza Strip. Kai Villan reports.
Israeli security officials said it is ready to launch a ground offensive in Gaza, saying that their move will be far more comprehensive and ferocious than any previous conflict with Hamas. Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of Israel, visited troops on the Gaza border and told them that they will soon see Gaza from the inside once the command comes. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a meeting with his British counterpart Rishi Sunak, called the events as their darkest hour. Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on October 7, killing 1,400 Israelis. This prompted the Israeli military to summon up to 360,000 reservists and amassed a huge army around Gaza's coastal strip, while reinforcing their defenses on the northern border against the possibility of an attack from Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden immediately left Israel after talking personally with Netanyahu. He then declared that U.S. and Israeli officials had talked about alternatives to a mass ground offensive into Gaza. Kai Villan reporting, SMNI News.
The government of Australia advised its citizens to avoid traveling to Lebanon amid fears of potential terror attacks. Authorities issued the advisory in the wake of the deteriorating security situation caused by the ongoing conflict between Israel and Gaza. Trisha Molina reports.
Smart Traveller, a travel advisory page run by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, updated its travel advice for Lebanon to do not travel due to the volatile security situation and the risk of it deteriorating further. As of Thursday, the 19th of October, Australian citizens who want to leave the Arab country are advised to take the first available commercial flight as soon as they can. According to the advisory, terrorist attacks could occur anytime and anywhere, including in the nation's capital, Beirut. Last week, Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong urged any Australians in Lebanon to leave due to serious concerns about the security situation in the Middle Eastern country. Clashes erupted anew at the Israel-Lebanon border amid fears the Hamas-Israel war could spread to another front. Israeli forces and Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon have engaged in a series of clashes since the latest conflict in Gaza broke out. As of Thursday, the Lebanese group backed by Iran said that 12 militants have already died since the clashes started about a week ago. Meanwhile, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemned the massive explosion at a crowded hospital in Gaza, which killed at least 500 people. Israel and Hamas trade blame as the death toll from the attack continues to rise.
We condemn any indiscriminate attacks and targeting of civilian infrastructure, including hospitals. And Australia joins with others in calling for international law to always be upheld.
As per government data, an estimated 15,000 Australians live in Lebanon, and about 250,000 Australians claim Lebanese ancestry based on the 2021 census. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
The Philippines and Saudi Arabia signed a multi-billion deal of investment agreement that will benefit thousands of Filipinos in construction and human resource services. Federico Veloso reports live. Fred?
The Philippine business delegation signed an investment agreement worth more than $4.6 billion with Saudi business leaders on Thursday.
The said deal was signed on the sidelines of the presence of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Gulf Cooperation Council, or ASEAN GCC Summit in Saudi Arabia. In the roundtable meeting with business leaders, President Marcos said that more than 15,000 Filipinos will benefit from the said agreement, as there will be more job opportunities in the construction industry and human resources services. Marcos also assured the business community that the Philippines will remain steadfast in its commitment to continue supporting current and prospective Saudi investors.
I assure you that the Philippine government is steadfast in its commitment to continuously support current and prospective Saudi investors. We continue to reaffirm our readiness for deeper economic partnerships, not just within the Southeast Asian region, but as well as with our extended neighbors here in the Gulf.
President Bongbong Marcos also emphasized that the Philippine government has amended existing laws to further open its economy to foreign investments. The president hailed the timely meeting as the Philippine economy continues to grow, with its gross domestic product at 7.6% in 2022, which is the fastest growth rate recorded since 1976. Furthermore, Marcos announced that the country posted $9.2 billion in net inflows of foreign direct investments in 2022. Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos met with several Arab businessmen through a roundtable meeting organized by the Department of Trade and Industry and the Saudi Ministry of Investment led by Minister Khalid Al-Falih. Trade and Industry Secretary Alfredo Pascual, in an interview, highlighted the importance of the meeting between the President and the Saudi Arabian investors, as it promotes more foreign investment opportunities in the Philippines. He said the health sector, agriculture, energy security, and others were also discussed. The Presidential Advisor on Investments and Economic Affairs, Secretary Frederick Go, also shared his view at the roundtable meeting held by President Marcos Jr. with Saudi Arabia's top business leaders. Secretary Go emphasized the importance of signing the Memorandum of Understanding between EEI Corporation of the Philippines and Samsung Engineering NEC Corporation Limited.
I think this was an excellent forum for us to market the Philippines as an investment destination for the Saudi Arabian companies. There seems to be a lot of interest in the sectors of energy, agriculture, telecommunications, and finance. I am also very pleased that we were able to sign a memorandum of agreement today, a solid one, between Samsung Engineering and EEI Corporation.
According to Go, the signing of the said deal will pave the way for the construction of a 500-person training facility in Tanza, Cavite that will create more employment opportunities for Filipinos.
This will be the training facility to train the Filipino skilled workers that will be sent eventually here to Saudi to work on a lot of their projects. And we're talking about multi-$100 million projects here in Saudi Arabia. So a great employment opportunity for our people.
David, to recall, this year's ASEAN GCC summit aims to intensify the cooperation between the two regional organizations, as well as discuss the current developments in the Middle East. David?
Thank you. That's Federico Veloso live on SMNI Studios. Meanwhile, the former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte stressed that a presidential appointment certainly cannot overrule a law. This is in relation to the appointment of Maguindanao del Norte's governor by President Bongbong Marcos. Let's find out why with Sarah Santos.
Both of them are operating as acting governor. In fact, both of them are meeting their staff. Talaga nag-ooperate sila as governor. Nagkakaroon ng mga memorandum addressed to the employees. Pareho sila nag-ooperate. Ang problema lang nag-ooperate sila pero walang lumalabas na pera. But they're functioning. Both of them are sitting as acting governors. Yung isa by virtue of the appointment by the president and yung isa naman by virtue of the law.
Stalemate. This is what former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte said in regards to the current situation in Maguindanao del Norte. The people of the said place are divided between Governor Bay Aini Sinsuat and OIC Governor Abdul Rauf Makakua, who was appointed by President Bongbong Marcos in the month of April. In his program Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa on SMNI Thursday with Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, the former president stressed that a presidential appointment certainly cannot overrule a law. Duterte's statement is in relation to Republic Act 11550, which states that whoever won the previous local elections in Maguindanao as vice governor will be the temporary acting governor of Maguindanao del Norte. According to Duterte, President Bongbong Marcos' appointment to OIC Governor Makakua is void ab initio. This means that it is to be treated as invalid from the onset.
Okay, Sal, I would direct this statement to the President. You know, Mr. President, I do not have the slightest intention to give you the advice, get it from your lawyers. I do not have the reason to lecture on you because you are the President of the Philippines. And the President is always right. That is a presumption para walang gulo. Now, if you do not want to follow the President, disagree with the President, you can file the necessary whatever action, pleading or suit in the courts. Start from the lower courts up to the Supreme Court. Now, between a presidential appointment and a law, the law will always prevail. Batas yan, Adre. How can you overcome a batas by a presidential appointment? You know that, maski first-year student ng law would tell you that the law should prevail. So ngayon, kung tanungin mo kung who has the better right, para sa akin, yung mga tao that were mentioned in the law. Because a presidential appointment cannot certainly overrule a law. They have, I think, the higher legal moral ground.
Former President Duterte stressed that before Maguindanao was divided into two provinces, there was already a provision in the law which states who will temporarily govern when Maguindanao del Norte is established. Due to this, there is no need for the President to appoint a governor. There may be special cases where the President has the privilege to decide by himself. However, this does not include appointing a governor in the said area. It can be remembered that attorney Salvador Panelo recently advised OIC Governor Macacua to step down from his position, to which former President Duterte agreed.
Yung Pangulo, kaya ko naman tinatanong yan sapagkat I'm thinking na hindi na kailangan silang pumunta sa hukuman. Sapagkat narinig ko po si Ginoong Macacua sa video publicly, nagsasalita siya. Kinikwento niya kung paano siya na-appoint. At sinasabi niya na sa totoo lang, ayaw niya nga. Katunayan, sinabi niya raw kay Secretary Anton at kay Secretary Galvez na kung i-appoint niyo ako, siguraduhin niyo lang na wala tayong nilalabag na batas. Kaya nung marinig ko yan na wala siyang nilalabag na batas at hindi siya papayag, since may desisyon ng Korte Suprema na nagsabi doon sa Mandamos case na valid ang assumption ni Acting Governor Sinsuat, I was thinking, following his logic and his public pronouncement na hindi siya papayag na siya ay lalabag sa batas, I was thinking na pwede naman siyang magboluntaryo na mag-step down para matapos na yung suliranin. At siguradong papalakpakan siya ng sambayanan ng Maguindanao del Norte.
In the end, this was the advice of former President Duterte to the camp of acting Governor Bay Aini Sinsuat.
Kung bright sila, Sal, kung bright sila, kung nakinig sila ngayon, kung bright kayong tinamaan na nandyan na ang pangalan mo na sa batas na as should be accessing the office of what? Kung bright kayo, kunin ninyo si Panelo, abogado. Short kayo.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
Senator expressed his full support and confidence in the ability and integrity of Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte. Hannah Jen Santos reports.
Senator Christopher Bongo expresses utmost support for Vice President Sara Duterte amid the politicizing of the issue of confidential funds. Senator Go stated that he is confident in Vice President Inday Sara's ability and integrity as a public servant in using the money of the people to provide quality education and safety to the youth as a Secretary of the Department of Education. Go added that Inday Sara's loyalty has already been proven when she was still the mayor of Davao City, whereas the chair of the City Peace and Order Council and a member of the Regional Peace and Order Council, the city and the entire Davao region became quiet, peaceful, and insurgency-free. In the recent episode of SMNI's Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa of former President Rodrigo Duterte with Pastor Apollo Siquibuloy, Duterte confirmed that his daughter, Inday Sara, has long been using confidential funds to ensure peace and security in Davao City.
Si Inday ni Mayor, all these years may intelligence fund yan. Ako may intelligence fund ako. At the outset, sabihin ko na sa inyo, anong produkto namin binigay sa Davao? Who was the first dito sa Pilipinas na nagkaroon ng mapayapa? Na walang komunista. May komunista pero nandiyan na sila sa bukid. Hindi pumapasok dito. Anong ginamit namin dyan? Laway? Tatanggap yung komunista ng laway? You know, pacification is a long process. We have to strengthen the barangays, gastusan mo yan mo, pastor, at yung iba bilihin mo. Yung hindi mo talaga makuha, pero popular sa tao sa barangay na yan, malakas, kasi mabait, at saka nandyan nakaimbudo yung kailangan bilihin mo dahan-dahan. Those are the use of intelligence, uses intelligence fund.
The former president further explained that the intelligence fund will still be audited, contrary to what the others believe.
Ito naman kasi yung mga taong iba, akala nila na pagka-intelligence, wala ng audit. Hindi, pastor, dito sa atin may audit talaga. You have to. ito binigay ko kay barangay captain.
Oo.
At tatanungin talaga, kuha yan. Natangkap mo ba yung pera na yan? Look, marami kayong kilalang military everywhere. Ikaw, pastor, alam mo. Ako lang ang presidente o mayor noon na may periodic command conference. Mayor ako, pinapatawag ko yan almost every other month. Lahat yung pulis ngayon buhay pa. Pagkatapos ko mag-discuss ng problema, sige, gastuhin mo yan ninyo sa bahala na. Just give me the right information. Bilhin mo sa kabit mo NPA, wala akong pakialam. Basta produce the results. Ganon ako ng presidente. Buhay lahat yung military pati police. Sinong presidente na tumatawag ng ganon? Pero lang pagkatapos, pastor. Ayan, nakikinig sila. Yung intelligence fund, kayong mga, well, I suppose, Inday has a way of doing it kasi yung ROTC pati PMT gusto niya i-revive plus itong pasok ng mga komunista sa eskwelahan.
Yes, Mayor.
Kaya nga palakasin niya yung PMT kay yung man yung nag-iimber na. Where do you think the enemies of the state get their manpower na may utak? Di ba ng estudyante natin?
Yes.
Mga taga-UP, sila yung mga ideologues. Yan ang hindi. Akala kasi nila intelligence pala na binubulsa. Yun sa mga kurakot. Pero itong pamilya na ito.
The former president insists that men judge best when they condemn.
Men judge best when they condemn. Ang pinakamagandang paghusa ng tao, lalabas yan, especially yung ididiin niya yung tao. Ganon yan. So, walang maniwala. Diwag, total, alam nung, ilang taon na ako na. Nag-retire na ako. Pumasok ako ng mayorship, same door. Umuwi ako pagka-presidente years after, same door, same lifestyle. Ito, naghihiram pa rin ng jacket sa iyo.
Duterte's daughter, Vice President Sara, is also the co-vice chairperson of the NTF-ELCAC and has shown courage and compassion for the welfare of Filipinos by fighting against the enemies of the state who are trying to overthrow the government. Meanwhile, despite the challenges that the country is facing, Senator Go calls on the public to unite in helping the government that is currently under the leadership of President Bongbong Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte. Go is also calling for all Filipinos to realize the common desire to have a more stable, comfortable, and safe country for all Filipinos. Go appealed to public servants not to succumb to bickering and politicizing and instead be part of the solution and focused on the task given the global and local issues affecting the economy and ordinary citizens. For God and my beloved Philippines, this is Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Saudi Arabia and Singapore strengthened their economic ties with the recent signing of 7 memorandums of understanding. The oil-rich kingdom also expressed interest in expanding cooperation with Singapore beyond the trade sector. Melchizedek Cadiz will tell us more.
Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong signed a series of bilateral agreements during the third session of the Saudi-Singapore Joint Committee held in Riyadh earlier this week. The 7 memorandums of understanding seek to facilitate investment opportunities across various sectors. Both countries have enjoyed strong ties for nearly 6 decades, with trade exchange between the nations to have reached $12.05 billion in 2022, or 50% higher compared to 2021. Saudi also wants to expand its partnership with Singapore across various sectors such as infrastructure, transport and logistics, financial services, energy, digital economy, and tourism. Both countries signed the agreements as Saudi Arabia plans to diversify its economy and reduce its dependence on oil. The Singaporean Prime Minister was scheduled to visit Saudi Arabia and the UAE from October 17th to 22nd. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. When the Father corrects you, that means you have to grow.
And for our Christmas countdown, it's 65 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and Country, I'm Mayk Oliveira.
For God and Country, I'm Deivid Lira. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikibaloy, for the opportunity to be part of this program.
You always continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.